Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so excited to have a conversation with writer David Kohan. David, among so many other things, is the co creator of two of my all time favorite shows, Will and Grace and Mid Century Modern. Thank you so much for being on my show. I can't tell you how excited I am to be talking with you.
Maya, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So, who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Hmm. Uh, I am going to say both. I'm going to say both of my parents. That counts as one two-headed monster, okay? Because we and but not for the obvious reason. My father was a writer, is a writer. My mother was also a writer. So it was like the family trade. I mean, were they plumbers? There's a really good chance I would be a plumber today. That's a possibility. But we moved from New York to Los Angeles because my father was writing for the Carol Burnett show. And when they first started, that's the reason we came to Los Angeles and ended up staying here. And my mother was a novelist. So to me, I think there are a lot of people who probably have real abilities, but think it's just a crazy pipe dream to become a writer. And for me, it's something that seemed accessible. Like if worst comes to worst, you could always write for a living. If my NBA basketball dreams don't come to fruition, I'll end up, writing because I had seen it happen. So in that sense, I would say it was them.
Oh, wow. I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. Um,
When I say the Carol Burnett show to someone like you, does that ring a do you know what
yeah,
that is? Okay,
yes, I do.
you know.
I,
So you get television history and
yes,
stuff.
I do. Yeah, I love Carol Burnett.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so who has had the biggest impact on you as a person?
In my life as a person, okay. Um, I would say, hmm, it's interesting. I would say the people who have made the biggest change in my life are my kids, right? Like it's like before I had kids, I was one person, and afterwards, I became kind of another person, and in a good way. I mean, in that sense, in terms of like broadening, they made me an adult. My kids made me a grown up because I had to be, you know. And I have two daughters, and I would say I feel like these are kind of like goofy answers. I'm supposed to say someone like Bob Dylan or someone like that. But that's really the truth. In terms of the things that the people that have shaped the person I am now, I would say that's the case.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so what inspired you to create mid-century modern?
Um, the my writing partner Max and I always when we were younger, we always wanted to do show about older people, just because we found them more interesting. Just, they had lived a little, they had experienced more, they were comfortable in their own skin, and they were settled into who and what they were. And we had written a script years ago called Senioritis. It took place in a like in a senior home in a like a living but and the premise of it was basically this is high school with gray hair. Like all of the issues and all of the, you know, the social politics and the sexual politics that existed then and the goof and the gossip and the insecurities. They manifested themselves a little bit differently, but the dynamics were the same. So we always liked, and we wrote these 470 something characters at a time when nobody was putting older people on the air. It was like the 90s and everything was, friends and it's like these are the consumers of television are young people and they want to see themselves reflected. But we never, and so we always had this in the back of our mind. And then, Max said, let's revamp this idea, to have this sort of chosen family idea, which is really what sitcoms all are in a sense. They're sort of they're either chosen, they're either birth families or chosen families in some form or another. I always think of sitcoms as a family, right? So so he had said, let's do that. And I thought, well, why now, And the answer that we really came up with was these are such troubling times. And there was something about this format and this medium and the idea of people who, at the end of the day, are happy to be with one another and grateful to be with one another is it's like an antidote for difficult times. That was the reason why I said it's worth doing because these half-hour multicam comedies are like they're like comfort food. And it was a time where people needed to laugh and be comforted to some extent, and that was the goal. That really was the goal.
That. Yeah, Mid-Century Modern is already one of my comfort shows. So as soon as I finished it, I watched it all in like a day. And as soon as I finished it, I was like, this is a new comfort show of mine.
I love hearing that. And it's so funny to me because you spend months working on it and then people are like, "Yeah, I watched it in a day."
Uh,
And I mean it's literally comfort food. It's like that's how
yeah.
you consume. And but that's very satisfying. Thank you for saying so.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been it's been one of my go-tos now whenever I just need something to help me escape. It's like always Will and Grace or like Mid-Century Modern. So
I'm the guy you want to talk to.
yeah. Yeah, my mom and I actually I was talking with her the other day and I we realized like all my comfort shows and the ones I constantly just rewatch, like most of them she introduced me to, like she
Mhm.
introduced me to Will and Grace. And yeah, now it's just on all the time.
Uh-huh, that's wonderful. I love hearing that. That's very meaningful to me. It really is. Because you have no idea. You sit in a room, and you say, well, I hope people will respond to this. Who knows? You put it out in the world and you have no idea how people are going to respond to it. So to hear something like this really is gratifying. I appreciate your saying so.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Who found Mid-Century Modern? You or your mom?
we both heard about it. But yeah, I don't remember who heard about it first. I think I might have, and then
Mhm.
my mom, like immediately after I found it, she uh found out about it. So,
I'm going to give you the credit for that one then.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so now that yeah, I my mom and I figured out she introduced me to most of the shows I'm just obsessed with. I always tell her, "See, you can't get annoyed with me when I watch them on a loop, because this is your own doing."
Exactly. Exactly. Stop yelling at me from downstairs. I'll be down in a minute. I'm doing something that you turned me on to. This is your
Yeah,
fault and your responsibility. Good.
yeah.
Absolve yourself of any. You are absolutely right in doing that, Maya.
Thank you. Um, so do you have any irrational fears?
I feel like all my fears are completely rational. They make they make sense to me. Um, I developed like for example, a fear of heights, which I developed as an adult. I didn't have it as a kid. I do have it as an adult. That seems like a very rational fear to me, And those are the things where, as I'm falling asleep, I will say to myself, don't think about falling from a great height. And of course, I will think about that and it will keep me up for another hour. That's neurotic behavior, but that is one of my big fears. It's kind of a boring one, but it's what are some of my other irrational fears? It's funny, I'm surrounded by people with irrational fears. I have one daughter who is truly terrified of lizards, like phobic of lizards, as in she won't visit the southern hemisphere because there are too many lizards. And so like Mexico is out of the question as a vacation spot. And but my wife has an irrational fear of crumbs, dirt, and disorder. And but that's my big one. Heights is my big one. Not getting enough sleep is a big one. And they fight against each other.
Yeah. I
Why do you have irrational? Do you have any?
Yes, I have a lot. I always joke my brain is just one big irrational fear. So, I germs are one that I feel like to me is very rational, but then I'll be freaking out about something, and my mom will remind me that it's very irrational. Um,
Hmm.
so, um, but yeah, I feel like germs are the big one. For a long time I would like whenever somebody rang the doorbell or like knocked on the door, I'd get very anxious. And like I know where that came from, and I know it was very irrational. Um
But Zoom is an ideal invention for you.
yes.
Like,
It is. Yeah. So those are some of my irrational fears.
but again, that seems like reasonable. I mean, is your immune system compromised?
No, it used to be.
Hmm.
But when I was on chemo when I was younger, now it's not. But um, I have OCD, so it's like I like obsessively clean my hands and
I get it.
yeah.
But the germ thing, I mean, it's still pretty I think you should try lizards as a fear.
Okay.
That's a really good one. You'll save money on plane fare to Mexico also. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what three words best describe you?
um, let's see. The three words. Boy, I feel like this is for someone else to answer. Um, uh, I would say curious, um, anxious. But I'm a closet. I'm clo I feel like I hide it pretty well. I'm probably deluding myself.
Yeah.
Um, okay, what have I got so far? Curious, anxious, um, content. I'm at a point in my life. This is one of the nice things about being the age I am. I am more content now than I ever have been. I like being older better than I like being younger.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, so what, no matter how many times you see it, always takes your breath away?
Um, let's see. Oh, these are all such interesting questions. And I haven't made, it requires, it's funny because part of me feels like I should just give you a, um, just an automatic reaction, just a reflexive kind of response, but it really is making me think. Um, there are, there's let's start with music, okay? Um, there are certain songs that will always choke me up, for example. Um, uh, Tom Waits' Take It With Me When I Go. Um, the Red Dirt Girls by Emmylou Harris. Um, these are songs that always that move me, and that so in that sense they do. I mean, look, great art takes my breath away.
Yeah, that. Yeah, yes, I agree with that. Yeah. Um, yeah, so if you had to pick any character in a book, movie, or TV show who is most similar to you, who would you choose and why?
Definitely Superman. Because no, Superman's a Jewish hero like myself. I let's see. Um, who uh there are there are okay, the one who is most like me. I'll go with yeah, who have I identified with and recognized myself in? Um, let me come back to that. Let me come back to that. Let me think about that for a second.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to that question. Um, so which writer do you consider to be the gold standard when it comes to storytelling?
I have favorite authors, okay, who to me and sometimes it's because of their ability to tell stories, and sometimes it's just because they are able to articulate things that are true but extremely hard to put into words. Philip Roth to me is one of my all-time favorite writers. I think I'm always learning something. And he seems so prescient. In other words, like if you want to, my attitude about Philip Roth is if you want to know what's happening right now culturally, read Philip Roth from 35 years ago, and he'll give you a sense of like, because, and Joan Didion's like that too, where she understands the fault lines. This isn't really storytelling. This is more just like writing that I respond to, that I recognize as like brilliant and powerful, right? Where the people have an understanding of the dynamics of in a culture, in a society, and are able to pinpoint it so that they always seem true. Like Joan Didion writing about America in the 60s seems as relevant today. And Philip Roth writing about Israel in 1991 feels as spot on and as poignant as today when you read it. It's kind of uncanny actually.
Oh, wow. I love that. Yeah. Um, so what lessons from your childhood have most impacted your worldview?
Um, let's see. When we had I mean, definitely from my family, our dinner table was a funny dinner table. Like you were judged not by your manners, but by your quips. Like you were judged by how funny you were and or clever. Not even and not even by our parents, who were not particularly judgmental people, but it was just the vibe. It was just almost like you sat at the dinner table and your goal was to make people laugh or contribute an interesting story or something like that. And that it it informed the way I communicate and the way I think about what makes for interesting conversation and what makes something funny. I mean, it really was. It was the best writing room I've ever been
Oh, I love
in.
that. Yeah. Um, so what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
My own fear of like failure and being a fraud. You know, I think everybody, you get a you I remember my first job on a half-hour sitcom. I remember thinking, I don't really belong here. There's some unbridgeable gulf between me and the people who are running this thing, and it's only a matter of time before they figure out that I'm faking it, right? And that I have no business being here. And it's not true. It's just never true. It's you are you are as good as you believe yourself to be, in these situations. And even if you're not confident in a situation like in the writing room, you need act as if you are. Fake it till you make it, as they say, right? Because
Yeah.
that was to me that was the biggest obstacle. It wasn't until I I really actually believed when I was working with something when I knew I could hold my own in that situation that I really that is the thing that when everything took off. Because up until that time I was so cowed and I was like fearful that I wasn't good enough or that and a few things happened that made me realize, oh no, I'm as good as this person, and this person is doing what I want to be doing, so why am I not doing it? But that was it. It was my own, it was fear, like anything else. It was fear that got in the way.
Wow. Yeah. So what are the songs that make you sing along whenever you hear them?
I think most I've always been a Dylan fanatic, and there are certain songs that you have to sing, and you have to sing them like Bob Dylan. Like, for example, a song called Isis on the Desire album. It's such a specific "I married Isis" song that you do it, you sing it the way he sings it. That's what makes it fun. I will for my I what I love doing is I love singing songs that are way out of my register to annoy my daughter. Like, hey, I will sing Losing My Mind from Follies, the Stephen Sondheim song. I will sing it in a falsetto voice at the top of my lungs, directly to her because I know how much it annoys her. So that's always joyful. And I've taught both of my children to be pests like I am. Um, and uh, um, and I mean, those are two that come to mind just because I find myself singing them a lot. But really, there's so many songs. I end up saying there are too many to name.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. There are so many songs for me too. Like right before this interview started, I'm glad you didn't hear me singing. I was singing along the song. Um,
What song? And will you sing it now?
I I I do not have a good voice, so I'm not
Okay,
gonna
then just tell me
sing.
the song.
Okay, it's "Guilty" by Asher Angel.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So and then before that, I was listening to a song called The Sweetest Song by Catherine Gallagher and singing along to that. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And so who do you get? So who will you unabashedly sing in front of?
Uh, my family. Um, Also, I will like unapologetically break out, and if there's a song like in the store that
Mhm.
comes on that I really like, I will sing along in the store. So yeah, yeah.
Okay, so those are my those are the songs that I'm thinking of. Um uh but no, look, I like it. I'm not a particularly good singer, but I really do like doing it and I wish I mean, and in my house with my family is when I'm most comfortable doing it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah, I'm so sorry. I just had something in my head and it went right out. So,
It's probably a song.
yeah, probably. Yeah. So what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
So many. So many. Like um uh you know anything having to do with NBA basketball thrills me. Riding my bike, I love. I'm a pretty avid cyclist, and I it gives me such noodling on my guitar gives me great joy. Um, the I'm not a good cook, but cooking for my kids I enjoy. Like I mean, simple little things that there's so many that's another thing about getting older. I really have gotten to a point where I very much appreciate in the moment the little things that give me pleasure. Driving. I love driving my car. I will look for an excuse to to do an errand just because I get to be in that little box by myself listening to what I want to listen to and and I getting older hopefully means appreciating how much you enjoy those little things.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of finding the little things
Mhm.
that just make you happy. Yeah. Um, so is there a show or a movie that you find yourself quoting all the time?
Always, always. I quote movies constantly. I quote, there are some, my the thing that I always show my kids first are Westerns, really good Westerns, John Ford Westerns in particular, and Howard Hawks are like old time classic Westerns. And the man who shot Liberty Valance, you're awful pretty when you get mad. And there are so many situations where lines from Westerns become valid to the point where my youngest, when she was 6 years old, she had a John Wayne themed birthday party because that's what I introduced her to. And-
Wow. Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, my brain is just filled with show and movie quotes and like things to reference just in any conversation.
Constantly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
funny because that feels so much more like a guy thing. And I don't know why that is, but like all the guys I know quote like their favorite movie lines are fine in the context. And so many of the women I know are annoyed by that. It's like, why do you know that? It's like, well, why don't you know that?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I one of the shows I quote all the time is Will and Grace. So um,
Do you remember some of the things that you quote from it? Like what are some
yeah,
of the things that
I quote like what's this? What's happening? What's going
uh-huh.
on? Or like are you having your stroke in installments? there's so many more.
Because there's so many, I mean, look, the stuff that you end up writing, they're it's the stuff that's relevant in a bunch of different situations that you just
Yeah,
it pops into mind. I really, really enjoy having little movie and TV quotes at my
yeah,
disposal to use when the situation calls for it.
yes, yeah, me too. Yeah, another line that I say all the time is like, that's an interesting story. You should write it down and tell it at dinner party. And yeah, some people like my best friend, I like will say that too. But he doesn't get it and doesn't yeah, I'm like, I'm insulting you right now. You're like
To be, to be clear, you're being insulted, just so you
yes,
know.
yes,
Trigger warning, you're about to be insulted.
yes,
Um,
yeah. Um, and now,
but something like that, like it is, I mean, it's something that you say to somebody that you know well,
yes,
and somebody that you're not going to get in trouble when you insult them,
yes,
and somebody, and it's like what you're saying is going nowhere.
yes,
It's not particularly interesting. You know it, and I know it, and I'm going to let you know because
yes,
that will be fun for me.
yes.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and my best friend and I, we do like this Instagram live show every week. And so now that Mid-Century Modern is out, I'm like referencing scenes to it every single time we talk. Um,
Mhm.
so
That's great. Oh, I love hearing that.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, your work has had like such a huge impact on my life. So thank you.
Anytime. Anytime. That makes me feel good that you said that you're telling me that because, like I said, you never know. Did you what did you think of Linda Lavin's character?
I loved her. She's the one like that I'm constantly like referencing all the time. Like I was telling my best friend about the one scene where she's yelling through the glass door, like, put me in a Holiday Inn like an animal. So yeah, I loved her.
She was the best. She really
Yeah.
was. It was such a shock. I said to her, in the very beginning, I said, there's a lot of my mother in this character.
Mhm.
And she could not have been more gracious about it. She's like, "Thank you for trusting me with this. That I will do everything I can to honor that." And she did. She really did. She went out of her way. She was such a lovely, cool, funny person, and but still a broad,
Yeah.
like she was she had done everything, and but was still so kind and generous. What a great lady. What a great
Yeah.
lady she was.
Yeah. Yeah, she was one of those people like I always wished I would have been able to interview.
And she would have been a great interview,
Yeah.
and because she's a great listener and she's a great talker and she has a zillion stories and she cares. Like, knew everybody's name on set, knew their stories, listened, sat down with them, like took the time, cared. She cared, she was
Yeah.
great. She was just lovely.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Hmm. They were
Yeah.
all good. We were so lucky to have that group. They were all wonderful people. It was a really, really great experience this season. That's why I hope we get to do more because I like I enjoyed coming to work. You can't always say that, but I really did. I looked forward to coming to work because in the writing room were a bunch of people that I liked, and on the stage were a bunch of people that I liked.
Yeah.
What could be bad?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for season two.
Well, you have done your part by watching, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, so I wanted to quickly go back to the question about if you had to pick a character, if you knew who that would be.
Um, I will, let's see. It's so funny because as you're asking the question, of course, my mind goes blank. But people who I just sort of um, have identified with in, or that most, was that the question? Who are most, who are like me?
Um, yeah, if you had to pick one who is most similar to you.
Hmm. It's making me think I don't really know what I'm like. Uh, 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 I, I would say. I'm gonna go with like David Schwimmer's character just because Schwimmer went to high school with me. Like I knew him and I don't know, I feel like we come off similarly somehow.
Oh, I love that.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Whether I mean it is another thing, but I'll say that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Um, so what is your go-to comfort show or movie when you just wanna tune out the world?
Okay, so I mean, it's the show is going to be sports. It's going to be something like I do I love and it could be like it could be professional cycling. It could be a football game. More often than not, it's basketball. That's my favorite sport. So that's it. But in terms of like the movies that I return to over and over are things like Singing in the Rain is something that I've watched a zillion times. Um, Meet Me in St. Like just the comforting like escapist musicals like Meet Me in St. Louis is one. I mean, I'm just thinking of things that like I sit down on the couch with my family and will watch over and over and over again, and I know every moment of it, and I'm still affected by it. Those are two good ones. Singing in the Rain and Meet Me in St. Louis. It's funny, you show them because as kids, you think this will be accessible to them and they'll enjoy this. But what you really come to realize is that you're doing it for yourself. Those movies they're never dull to me. I never don't want to watch them. And I mean, there are a bunch more like that. A movie that I will see over and over again is even dark ones, like um, um, the you know the Howard Hawks movie Bringing Up Baby, and also there's also another movie, a not a relatively obscure movie called The 20th Century with John Barrymore and Carol Lombard. It was made in 1934. It was one of the earliest screwball comedies. And it's so funny. Like to this day, it's funny. It's about these two titanic egos clashing with each other. And it feels so relevant and so fresh because you know people like that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just have one final question for you. So I love inspiring and motivational quotes, and this week the quotation that spoke to me is by Winston Churchill, and
Mhm.
it's the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty.
Mhm.
Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Yes, I'm going to give you a quote from my mother. Don't let anybody spit in your kasha.
I love that.
That was one that was always in this. It's like don't take yourself for granted. Don't let anyone take advantage of you.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
I think that's a great one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not quite Churchillian, but we'll take
Yes, I love that one.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, that was my final question for you.
Maya, what a pleasure. What a pleasure. I'm going to come up with a more satisfactory answer about who is most like me. So we'll have to do this again at some point.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. I can't tell you what this means to me to be.
It makes me so happy. I'm happy to do this, Maya. When our mutual friend Randy was telling me about this situation, I was thrilled to do it. I'm happy to do it again. So I love what you're doing, and I think you're an inspiration. So I mean, you have obstacles that you have overcome. I mean, and it's a wonderful thing to see. I'm truly impressed. So respect right back at you.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me.
All right, so we won't say goodbye. We'll say till next time. Okay, how about that?
Yes, that's perfect.
All right, Maya. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a wrap on today's edition of the latest with Maya.